It's October the 19th, and This Week in Modern returns after a Thanksgiving break. I am Mean Mono Green of Llanowar, back to get you up to date with all the modern action of the last 2 weeks. We'll be skipping coverage of the prelims this week in order to talk about the challenges of 2 weeks ago, this weekend, and all of the top of the 2 PTQ events held on Magic Online that will be sending people to the Innistrad Set Championship on Magic Arena. Then we'll be checking out some coverage of the Trophy Tussle, which has been heating up and has a few new faces in competition for the top. So let's get to it.
This Week in Modern presents Challenge Recaps.
The October 9th challenge was taken down by Curryvore on his signature blue-white Urian Blink mid-range control pile. This deck is essentially an 80-card version of blue-white control, using many of the same tools that have made that deck competitive in the format, supplemented with Restoration Angels, Wall of Omens, Vendilion Click, and perhaps most speculative, Omen of the Seas. But Omen can be bounced by Teferi Time Raveler for extra value, as can Spreading Seas or Slip Slide with Urian. This deck has been favored recently by Pro Tour champion and newly introduced into the world of streaming, Guillaume Wafotapa, who you can see now frequently streaming his own version of the same deck at twitch.com/Wafotapa. Hammer Time picks up another runner-up placement played by Grinder Darth Kid, and Burn and another Hammer Time deck round out the top 4. Wolfie98 playing a tweak of Hammer Time with Splash into red instead of black for original Hammer Time staple Magnetic Theft. Following down the top 8, we see Canister on definitively not Elementals, the 4-color Sky Noodle mid-range deck that's been serving trophy leader Martinez DP exceptionally. Punt Then Wine on his signature Karn Primeval Titan deck, another Burn deck, and a copy of Blue-Red Murktide are the rest of your top 8. And Sodek narrowly missed the top 8 on Green-Red Belcher, but you'll get more on this later. Down through the rest of the top 16, we have copies of each of the top tier decks: Living End, Crashcade, Jund, Sagavan, and a more stock configuration of blue-white control. This tournament is a pretty perfect representation of metagame shares, with all the tier 1 decks having multiple representatives, and the breadth of tier 2 decks showing up powerfully. The Sunday challenge was taken down by the underrepresented black-green Yawgmoth combo on stream by Demonic Tutors. Let's take a look at the final moment.
They don't have the mana to end Grist. It costs... they don't have red or whatever. They don't have the third color. We're gonna let them scry. Yawgmoth. Sacrifice you. Yeah. Nice. Nice.
As seen there, he prevailed over IVC on a stock blue-white control configuration. Moving down, Hammer Time, squeezed out of the finals, was present here in the top 4, as was Blue-Black Mill, played by Voodoo Wada. The rest of the top 8 included another blue-white control, played by the aforementioned Wafotapa, 2 Jund Sagavan decks by Simerisu and Thalai, respectively, and finally, a Living End by trophy board contestant Silent Sea Song. Tybalt of the Red Sub, always on offbeat versions of Mill, fell just short of the top 8 in 9th place. 2 copies of Holy Day and 1 copy of Silence are not the strangest parts of this Mill deck that also included 4 main deck copies of Rest in Peace and an Augur of Bolus. The rest of the Sunday challenge had some interesting appearances, including a 21st place Niv to Light, Dr. Queller on Bant Spirits in 25th place, and in a strange deja vu, Jiggy Wiggy on Grinding Breach in exactly 31st place again. Great results from these challenges that we'll sum up a little later on. But for now, let's take a look at what people brought to some higher stakes than a regular weekend challenge. A shot at the Pro Tour with this recent weekend's modern PTQs. Yes, with even higher stakes than a showcase challenge, the PTQ tournaments ask a player what they truly think is the best possible deck for the day, and to play at their absolute hardest. Both challenges managed over 128 players for a long 8 rounds of fierce competition. Let's take a look at the Friday challenge, which started late afternoon for the Americas, late night for Europeans, and early morning for the APAC region. Longtime grinder Namer Squats took down the first PTQ on a stock version of blue-white chalice control, with, I'm sure, incredible and tight play all the way along. Glacier 7 made second place on the newly booming Zoomer archetype, the Martinez DP Special, 4-color definitively not elementals. This specific configuration of Money Pile was rolling in with 3 endurances in the main deck, which is just generally a powerful card overall, even at its worst, a 3-4 flash reach for 1 GG. Basic Forest was here, registering Basic Mountains, and Sunbait Canyons in Burn, which pulled them to a 3rd place finish alongside Fair MTG, also playing Burn in 4th. There were 2 Hammer Time decks, Nako, who ran the tables in the Swiss for an 8-0 into top 8, and Will X-Whale Kruger. Additionally, Jun Sagavan made the top, and a crazy red-white Showdown of the Skalds brought back deck in the hands of JPSN54. For these PTQs, we only had the top 16 of each, and the rest of Fridays included 2 copies of Amulet Titan, 2 copies of Burn, another Not Elementals, Teamer Rhinos, Living End, and the spiciest standout, Blue-White Urza Blade by Contra Ego, the master of Thopter Sword combo. The Sunday challenge took place very early in the morning for the Americas, noonish for Europe, and in the afternoon/evening for the APAC region. So let's take a look at this more Euro-comfortable tournament result. The finals took place and was captured live on the stream of Emiliano Sagasti, Mordekaiser. So let's take a look at the end.
Yeah, I'm happy with that fun sack. Rhinos incoming. I'm not blocking this. It's not trade I wanna make. A bit annoying if they go for an outburst by now, but not really. Counter. Do I want to hold up Solitude now? And I think the answer is yes, because if they Rhinos I want to play. Even if I can't ephemerate it. Violent Outburst incoming. So Fury punishes me for doing it on their turn, Mystical Dispute punishes for doing it now. Let's see if they have it. If they don't, then we can get to block. Maybe we have some. Maybe we have a game in our hands. No, that's not right. That's fine. Oh, they had Cryptic. Okay, we're done.
So it wasn't the 4-color Not Elementals deck that took down the challenge, but instead Teamer Rhinos with an interesting tweak, Cryptic Command appearing in the list of Andrei Klepach, as well as other additions to the archetype, Seasoned Pyromancer alongside Deadgon, and a single sideboard Prismari Command. Player Steinerson, who went to the top 8 on a perfect 8-0 run, was also playing definitively Not Elementals, with some significant differences from the Mordekaiser list, playing the main deck Endurances, which we saw earlier in the weekend, and no main deck Spreading Seas. This 80-card behemoth of value certainly has a lot of room for experimentation and exploration. 4th place was Blue-White Control, showing that the archetype has been doing consistently well and been well positioned all weekend long. BTL Scapeshift and Blue-Red Murktide made their first appearances in today's episode of This Week in Modern. BTL Shift possibly being squeezed out by a lot of the hate that was intended for Cascade decks, and Blue-Red Murktide seeming to have a less than stellar matchup against a field of Not Elementals and Blue-White Control. Finally, Jun Saga made one appearance by MTG Milan, and another copy of Rhinos closes out the top 8 here. Following the archetypes down to 16th place, we see Doomwake on another copy of Rhinos, 2 more copies of Burn, another copy of Blue-Red Murktide, Jund Yawgmoth, Living End, Hammer Time, and the recently extinct but clearly returning to prowess, Amulet Titan. And there's still 2 more challenges to cover here, so let's see what's going on in the challenges that ran back-to-back or right alongside these PTQs. The Saturday challenge fired up in between the 2 PTQs with no overlap, so competitors who were intending to fiercely practice for the Sunday challenge could stretch out here and see how they were performing. Phenomenal brewer and competitor Talisker won the whole thing on a wild amalgam of Jeskai Moonblade, with a full grip each of Chalice, Blood Moon, Fury, Seasoned Pyromancer, and Stoneforge Mystic in a deck that was just splashing blue in the main for Teferi Time Raveler. Tybalt of the Red Sub took Mill to the finals here, with a more stock configuration of blue-black, moving out of the semifinals where they were able to make their way above Hammer Time and Jund Sagavan. BTL Scapeshift and 2 copies of Living End took up most of the rest of the top 8. However, Spicy Leche also made a deep run here with, of all things, Jund Death's Shadow. Yes, Taylor Swiftsphere decided to shake off the rust and came back swinging in this list with Mutagenic Growths and, instead of Newcomer Dress Down, Teamer Battle Rage. This list is looking to slam its own life total before utterly destroying opponents in quick fashion, with multiple lines that can result in turn 3 kills, and a truly optimal line for a turn 2 kill. Sodek made another 9th place appearance with Belcher, and another pilot, Bied Narcio, made 13th, and another cool 95 in 30th place. Belcher was certainly on the rise on Saturday, and Sunday hit the top spot with Sodek finally making it into, and to the top of, a challenge on his Belcher list. This deck has the potential of a turn 2 kill, but can also use Recross the Paths to set up a perfect draw of 7 cards for the next turn from Miracle card Reforge the Soul, and can easily hit opponents out with a turn 2 Blood Moon, which in the current meta can be incredibly punishing. Don't be surprised when you run into this beast in the leagues, and try to have a plan which allows you to survive the onslaught of this deck that has, mercifully, moved away from 4 main deck Pact of Negation. The top 4 of this challenge was otherwise dominated by Teferi Time Raveler, with Benny R in 2nd and Canister in 4th playing blue-white control, and in 3rd place, Tax's Master Paratotlet on Jeskai Moonblade, with some tweaks from the Saturday list including 2 copies of Solitude. The Cascade crew were here in 4th, with 5th and 6th going to Living End. Blue-Red Murktide took 7th place, and another blue-white control in 8th place. Right on the cusp of the top, however, sharing a record of 5 and 2 with some of the top 8, were 2 more Murktide, 2 blue-white control, 2 Hammer Time, Burn, Jeskai Humans, and Belcher. And Jiggy Wiggy finally made it above 35th first place with a placement of 18th on Blue-Red Grinding Breach. And Jiglio MTG brought back his longtime favorite red-green mid-range for a 19th place finish. So with all these big competitive events under our belt in the last 2 weeks, let's take a look at these overall numbers. Looking at representation in top 32s, out of the 31 archetypes that appeared in these 6 tournaments, the lion's share of the metagame is 8 decks. Hammer Time at 14.7%, Blue-White Control at 12.8%, Crashcade and Burn at 9.6%, Jund Saga and Living End at 7.1%, and Blue-Red Murktide and Newcomer 4-color Not Elementals at 5.8 and 5.1 respectively. This makes up approximately 3/4 of the total field, with the long tail of decks showing Tier 2 success stories like Belcher, Amulet, and Yawgmoth, which had several appearances, and 17 archetypes having 1 to 2 appearances each. However, these numbers change a little bit when we look at the top 8 cuts only, with Blue-White Control making the cut more often than Hammer Time at 15.2% over 13%. Jund Sagavan is in 3rd here, Cascade and Not Elementals are tied for 4th, 5th, and Living End, Murktide, and Burn are tied right behind that for 6th, 7th, and 8th. All of this is to say that the metagame, such as it is, has expanded to include 4-color Urian Sky Noodle mid-range non-elementals and Burn as clear contenders for Tier 1 status, with Mill and Yawgmoth nipping right at their heels. Recent great performances from BTL Scapeshift and Jeskai Moonblade definitely deserve your attention, but these decks may have had just one hot weekend where they were either excellently positioned or had some surprise factor, as they've been largely absent from the metagame. That was an absolute ton of competitive results and data. But before we leave, we'll check in on that Trophy Tussle and see who's tearing up the charts in the Modern Qs.
This Week in Modern presents the Trophy Tussle.
Jacob the Pensword Comiskey started this season as a very strong leader on multiple varieties of Blue Moon, before the contender from Brazil, Capoeira 02, came out of nowhere to take on the Murktide Master. But he wasn't the only one, with 4-color Not Elementals innovator Martinez DP tearing up the board to get to the top, as did Amulet Meister, Punt, then Wine. However, after some days away from stream, attending to personal matters, the Pensword has struck back and closed the gap of 4 trophies to come back and take a shot at the title again. So with 21 days remaining in the race, let's check in on the numbers. At 19 trophies each, Martinez DP and Capoeira are right at the top, with Martinez on a slight edge due to the timing of his trophy. In third place with 18 is the Pensword. In fourth place with 16, Punt Then Wine. And Eldrazi Master, the Tunneling Cat, closes out the top 5 at 13 trophies. Underneath that, former trophy leader Pygonti, Cascade Pro, Silent Sea Song, and Yawgmoth Master, Demonic Tutors are hanging out at 11 trophies. Black-White Griefer, Nazart, is at 10 trophies. And a wide field extends below this group at 9 and 8. At the moment, This Week in Modern has not set up a better system for accepting donations for the trophy race, but ticket and chest donations can be accepted most hours of the day. Feel free to email us at thisweekinmodern@gmail.com to get in touch about a donation. As for the moment, This Week in Modern and the Mana Symbol channel will be donating 50 tickets to the prize pool, the divisions of which will be announced next week. Faithless Brewing should match this, and at least one other contributor has added 20 tickets so far, to make the prize pool 120 tickets as of this date. But there's still time to contribute if you want to sponsor this exciting race. Well, that about does it for all the Modern news fit to be reported for this week. But if you've got a Modern deck or story that you want to share with us, please feel free to tweet me at TWIMMTG or email us at thisweekinmodern@gmail.com. For now, this is Mean Mono Green of Llanowar wishing you the best of top decks and the best of luck. Good night.